Unknown. This is Kevin Hope here with Ball Her Hoops. Final regular season edition of the Fire 15 rankings. What a great season of basketball in our area has been. So many teams that are capable of being a top team in our area, and there has made it truly hard to think of like which team is really the best because it's been so many ups and downs. I mean, at a point in time, we were like, man, Chambers has one of these teams that can't be beat. Catholic looks unstoppable, and all these teams have taken more than one loss. Uh, Only team I think I don't even know if it's any undefeated team. I don't think it is an undefeated team in that area. I think the closest is Salisbury and Shelby. Shelby lost 2 games. Salisbury lost one. Myers Park hasn't lost any in the state, so all those things may come into play. But when playoffs come, everybody's 0-0. Actually, conference tournaments start this week, so that'll be a whole another pretty much season. I've heard that they don't do the automatic seed after you win the conference tournament, which is kind of unfortunate because I always like that. That put extra pressure on teams to play harder in the tournament because that matters. You get that seed, you get that extra like automatic bid to that state tournament, which is big for some teams. But shout out to all the state, not state, but conference champs for the regular season. Shelby won there, Salisbury, Kings Mountain, and Ashbrook shared their conference title. So did Chambers and North Meck, as well as Charlotte Catholic and Providence. Shout out to Lake Norman on winning theirs and Myers Park. Cannon, Victory Christian, and Concord Academy. Concord Academy actually just played their conference tournament, so they won the conference tournament and the regular season, which is big for them. Congratulations to all. This will be a great state playoffs as there are a lot of teams capable of winning this championship. I think especially 4A, it's going to be kind of uphill battle to whoever wins it because it's going to be a gauntlet. Just just off the top of my head, one of the first matchups I saw from high school overtime was Lake Norman and Olympic. And while Olympics may not have the best season, Olympics still a pretty solid team, and that would be a matchup to see with them in Lake Norman. Even though I think it'll be hard for Olympic to go to Lake Norman and win that game, but you never know. So what we're doing with the rankings this week, we're going to do the rankings, and we're going to put what they have to do to win the state championship. I think this is big because it's a lot of teams that are capable of winning it, and some you may not think are capable, but anybody can go on wrong, anybody can get hot. So let's start with number 15. At number 15, I actually have Carson, the defending state champs. They continue their winning ways. I think they've gotten hot as of late. I can't remember the exact amount of wins they have in a row, but they've been really good. They're starting to find their stride, and if they can continue that trend, I can see them getting back to that state championship. Uh, get the ball to Mary Spryer. Honestly, that's their big time player. She's huge for them. She does so much. I feel like if she's getting the ball and leading that team, and everybody else is feeding off of her energy, I think that they have another good chance to compete and for that 3A state championship. Marvin Ridge is at number 14. My fault. Carson's number 15. Carson's 20-3. I didn't get to mention that record. Marvin Ridge is 14 with 20-4. I think they need to keep that underdog mentality. When you're an underdog, you don't really like go into a game. You think you're gonna win, but not everybody else. I think that's been big for them because nobody's really been talking about them. Uh, to this day, many people don't know how good this team is. They just went and beat Hickory Ridge. Um, I think last week, which was big for them. They beat them in between Hickory Ridge losing to Lake Norman twice. But they should use that to their advantage. They'll have one of those top 8 seeds because they're a conference champion. But I think they can upset a big team if they stick to what they do. All right. Number 13 is Newton Conor over 20-2. I think to win the state championship, they had to play through Cassidy Gaddis and Emma Fox. Emma's been dominating inside. She's averaging a double double, and Cassie has just been out of this world good. I think that's their recipe to win some games in this playoffs. 2A is probably the second hardest division, if not the hardest. Um, I think them and 4A will be right there neck and neck because 2A has some really good teams. I think it's at least 3 teams on this list that are 2A teams. So I think if Newton Conover can get there, they have the experience already. I think they'll be really good. Number 12, new to the Fire 15. Been a while. Providence 16-5. What I think they have to do is for to get in this, to win the state championship is someone named not Delaney Hill will have to step up. And don't get me wrong, they have really good players on that team, but as everybody knows, that team runs through Delaney Hill. And when you get to playoffs, teams understand that. Everybody's going to defensively make a game plan to stop Delaney. And the best teams will execute that game plan. So probably going to have to find a way for all those extra role players and starters. I think Eva Butler's been doing really good. Madison Skinner, all of those players have been doing really good. So they can, if they step up, I I don't have a problem seeing them get to that state championship and that state semifinal as they did last year. But they have to also keep their defensive intensity. I watched the Charlotte Catholic game, and their defensive intensity was through the roof. I mean, they were feeding off the crowd, but also just being able to play defense at that level is huge. I think conference tournament will decide technically who gets the one seed since they shared the conference title. So I think whichever one of them, whether it be Providence or Catholic, and I'm not going to count out Independence because that looks like a semifinal matchup between Independence and Providence. And their previous two games against each other, they have been less than 4 points, if I'm not mistaken. So I think whoever wins that conference tournament will get a higher seed, and that'll be big because you get home court advantage. You want home court advantage in the playoffs. At number 11, I have South Meck. Watched them play against Myers Park recently, where they made a huge comeback. A couple mistakes and turnovers down towards the end of the game cost them that game. But shooters will have to make shots for them. I think that's the biggest part for South Meck. It can't just be Sonali Moss. Uh, Everybody else, the House sisters have to be big. Anastasia Sinclair has to be big. If they are playing at that level that they played last Friday, or I think it was either Friday or Thursday, if they're playing at that level, then I see that they will be really good. South Meck has a solid team. Sonali Moss drives them, but they have to pick up their defensive effort as well. A lot of times they leave a lot of wide open shots, and I don't know if it's due to just not moving as a whole, as a unit, but they got to pick that up because in playoffs, a lot of teams are going to be locked in, and you don't want to be that team that just gives up that many wide open shots because a lot of teams are going to knock those down. Number 10, 22-2, Charlotte Catholic. Charlotte Catholic has to find a way to win big games. They have lost two of their last 8 games. They got to figure out how to use the inside presence as teams have started doubling down on the paint when they touch it. And guards have to step up and make shots. The game I saw versus Providence, every lob pass or every bounce pass that was getting to Blanco or Grayson, they were just digging in, digging in, digging in, and they were kind of catching the lob, like trying to hit the ball away before she even catches it. So now you have to find creative ways to get those touches and then have those touches lead to points because their game plan has to go through Blanca. It's no other way you can put it. She's their top player, so it's not to say that the rest of the players don't matter, but going through her, maybe her getting it back, getting the ball in the paint and kicking it back out or hitting a cutter will work because most teams are going to double down, and they have enough shooters to where if she kicks it back out, they expect to make shots. So that's what I have for Charlotte Catholic. At number 9, I have Shelby. Um, Shelby is 16-2. I think they just need to be who they are. I don't really think there's more to that. They're defending champions, and they're defending champions for a reason. I think they have the pieces to win, and they showed that versus Kings Mountain, one of their rivals. They really just blew them out, didn't look back, and I think that's what they've done most games. Only reason they're this far down is because you know the schedule, and I hate that they couldn't play a better schedule. You got to play who's in your area, and that's That's not unfortunate, but it's just part of the game. But I think this year's road to the title will be a little harder with Salisbury, with um, the team I just mentioned, Newton Conover. With all those teams in it, there will be a little harder to just say, "Oh, we about to run through this," because I think Salisbury has a really good team, and with Kyler Bryant, I think they'll be really good. So you gotta understand that it won't be as easy, but I think those guards there at Shelby will be prepared and they'll be ready to compete this year. I think they've already been doing really well, and we'll see how that goes this year. I think 2A is a one to watch for. Number 8, I have Julius Chambers. Julius Chambers is 16-6. They got to get back to their bread and butter and dominate the paint. Previous years, that's where they won games. They won inside out. They have good size. You got Trinity, you got Samey, you got Jada inside. So they have the size. It's not like they are hurting inside, but they also have a great point guard. Neil Hallway is what keeps them going, but I think they need to work that inside out to defend their state championship. If they can take every game one day at a time, I think they'll be a good spot. I still think they have one of the more talented teams in North Carolina. But you know, other teams are trying to push that envelope to show them that it's not going to be easy for 4A. It's not going to be where they just dominate like they had before. I think last year's state semifinal game was won by double digits, and that's just something that they've been able to do. So hopefully they can get back to that. At number 7, I have Lake Norman, 19-3. Their shooters have to make shots and be efficient. Defense has to be better through the game. I watched the game versus Hickory Ridge. Knowing personnel, like there's no reason that you're leaving Hickory Ridge's Alyssa Lewis open. She's a shooter. Got to know where your shooters are. Got to be able to play defense and know that this is the assignment. When you get to the state playoffs, it's a different game. As I've said before, the games I've watched, they give up a lot of open shots. So they got to be able to fix that, just be able to communicate better. I think that's always the best thing for defenses. If you're communicating, I always tell people over communicate. That's big. But they have been winning because of their talent level, and rightfully so. They will need talent and defense to win this state championship, which they are very capable of doing. Number 6, I have 19-1 Salisbury, another 2A team. I said do not fold under pressure. Not saying that they have before, but right now, all of their wins except for one early win early in the season, I think it was against North Surrey, have been by double digits. The one loss they got is by nearly 20 points to a good Apex Friendships, but they will face tougher competition in the playoffs. So to get that actual victory, they're gonna have to win a close game. I would love to see them and Shelby in a regional semifinal. That would be a great matchup because I think they both have really good guards. But I would love to see it. At number 5, I have 1-on-1 Academy. Unfortunately, they aren't in a state association. They're 26-8. I think they might be 27-8 now. They did win yesterday, no Friday. I think they beat Victory Christian. But this team has won some big games as of late, which has moved them up to this 5th spot. I think they're going to compete for a national championship, and rightfully so. They'll play some really good teams, and hopefully they can win a national championship because that would just be dope to have a team that's won a national championship in our area. I know they can't play for a state association because they're a prep school, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think they are the 5th best team right now. Probably could be higher, but we'll leave them at 5 for now. Number 4, Providence Day, 21-3. Um, Honestly, the state association for private school is meeting today, and even though Providence Day is 21-3, they may have to play Cannon in the semifinals, or they may have to play them in the championship. But they have to find a way to beat Cannon. I think it's between them, Cannon, Raven Gap, and North Raleigh. Those are the 4 teams that really are there. Wesleyan Christian has an outside chance as well. but those four are really the teams that everybody is looking at. If PD can play their brand of basketball and find a way to beat Cannon, I think they can beat a state championship. They don't have struggles with most other teams. The Wesleyan game was just a weird game where they couldn't hit the side of a barn, honestly. Um, but they won't have too many games like that. But I think if they find a way to beat Cannon, they'll beat everybody else. I honestly feel that way. They do a really good job against other teams. It's just for some reason Cannon's had that number these last 2 years. Number three, North Mecklenburg, 21-2. Big wins lately. As I've said, North Meck is one of those teams that where you watch them and you understand that their defense is top level, like really high. They're one of the best defenses in the area. I think they have gotten to the point to where they're just finding their way offensively because defense, they've always had it. They've been dominating teams. Great win versus Chambers last week. To win, they will need that pressure and to wear down their opponents. I think they're going to do that. Then they have to lead on the leadership of those guards with Page and De'Aaron Page and Nevaeh Farmer. And then I think they need to let Jocelyn Geary get her shots in. I think she is really efficient from what I've seen, and just let her play because she's a big time shot taker and she's a shot maker. So I think getting her the ball, I know she comes off the bench as an energy component, but I think she deserves to get that ball and get those shots in because she makes shots at a high level. Her and Kiera, they both are doing really good. Kiera's been big for them lately. I think if she continues her play, I think that really helps them out. They'll definitely have to be really good in 4A because 4A is a big talent load. So many good teams. And number two, 20-6, I got Cannon. Ball pressure and be able to finish around the rim. In a game against PD, I counted at least 9 missed layups. In a game they won by two, with the way Samaya Suffering and Lily Booker pressure the ball, they will control the game in most contests. Uh, but the road may have to go through Cannon to win. I think they'll be either 1 or 2 seed, uh, probably between them and Raven Gap. But I don't know if they're doing the playoffs the way they've done it previously. They usually have a site to where they play the semifinals and the championship. It used to be PD, and a lot of coaches didn't like that because if you're not the higher seed and you get home court advantage regardless, it's a little rough, but it's all right. I mean, that's just how the game goes. PD has a amazing facility, so I understand why they have it there. But I don't know if they last year they did it at the top seeds venue. So last year they actually had the game at Cannon for the state championship, which Cannon won. So we'll see how it goes this year. But if it has to go to Raven Gap, which would suck for everybody, um, that would be tough because that's in Georgia, which is crazy enough that I don't know why a Georgia team is playing in yeah, that's the topic for another day. Myers Park is our number one team at 19-5. They must continue to run their offense the right way and keep the ball in Mia Exeter's hands. As long as this team is making shots, I feel like they're hard to beat. They play really solid defense. They give up some shots, but they don't give up like high efficiency shots. Like you're always gonna see a hand, you're always gonna see a defender. So they should have one of the higher seeds so I see a lot of home games for them. I think they'll be really good in this playoff. So that's what I have. I think this will be a great playoffs. Please, players, it's playoff time. It's tournament time. Understand your role. This is not the time to be selfish. This is not the time to say, "Oh, I gotta get mine." Nah, because you're at a chance, especially if you're a playoff team don't take it lightly. Not everybody is able to go to the playoffs. You might get 4 teams from conference, maybe three sometimes. But you gotta understand your role as a player. That'll be key for the players that want to win the championship. The saying goes, "Every dog has its day," which means you gotta wait. You gotta want it more than the other team. Like everybody wants this championship, but what are you doing to get better? What are you doing to get to that championship level? It can't just be when you're at practice. Get some work in, get some dribble in, get some shots up. All those things matter. Basketball game is a runs, and in the playoffs, you must be able to weather that storm. You're gonna have some teams that get hot, and you're gonna have to be able to say, all right, we got to figure out something to slow that team down. Get a defensive stop. I love the saying, get 3 stops in a row, and that kind of defeats a team. But I'm looking forward to this great playoffs. I think these teams will put together one of the best tournaments to date in both private and public playoffs. So good luck to everyone, and I'm out. Ball of hoops.